All right, guys, welcome back to the Walleye Files. We got my good buddy Mitch Daun. Mitchell, how you doing?
Doing awesome. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty
Wonderful.
good. Trying to stay warm right now. I think it's like
Yeah.
negative 15 by me.
And we don't have it that bad. I think we've got
Yeah.
single digits over by us, but yeah. Bunch of snow coming this weekend. Making nice
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, 8 to 10 for sure. I think we're supposed to get this weekend for snow.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I picked a great time to head that way, huh?
Well, you're not heading until next weekend, so there'll be some of that'll be gone.
Let's hope so. I mean, I feel like we're only a couple weeks away from getting the boats out, but the temperatures aren't showing that.
Yeah, we'll see. I really hope this. We're supposed to get kind of an upswing in weather here, like a week and a half from now. I mean, that extended forecast shows mid 30s. If that happens, if we get 2 steady weeks of some mid 30s, I think the Fox River here will open up relatively quickly.
We can only hope. I
Hey,
don't mind
is-
ice fishing, but I wouldn't mind getting the boat out.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Is that something that you're gonna head over and do, Mitch? The Fox River run there that everybody seems to do in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I get out there. It's close to home, so I get out there quite a bit. It's a nice place to shake the dust off. Try to get out there before the crowds or during the week if I can get out of work, because as you guys know, the weekends get pretty chaotic out there. I think you can pretty much walk across the boats. So I try to
Yep.
avoid some of that, but it is a nice spot to shake the dust off and catch some fish.
That's funny because that's kind of what over here in my neck of the woods. It's pool 4 for us. You know, we've
Sure.
got, you can go up to the dam and you can catch a bunch of fish. You can catch a ton of fish throughout the entire winter. And by about this time of the year, I'm like, man, should I pull the boat out, head over there and freeze my butt off for a couple saugers? You know, it's just one of those things. You just want to get back in the boat.
Right. And I mean, I don't mind ice fishing, but there's something about being in the boat and being able to move around a little bit more and cover more water. That's my tranquility, man. So I try to get out there as quick as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's start talking. So, Mitchell, if you'd like, give us a little bit of background on yourself, your tournament experience.
Yeah. Mitchell. I feel like I'm in trouble when you say that, Brandon, but
Huh, they're always in trouble.
that's true. It's true. My background, I'm from Manitowoc, pretty much southeast Wisconsin area. Started fishing tournaments 8 years ago or so. I should back up. I've got a wife and 3 kids at home that we get out fishing quite a bit as a family. And 8 years ago, I started fishing tournaments. I fished a few with my dad before that, and then got heavy into tournament fishing, I would say 7 years ago. Donate more than I'm successful with tournament fishing, just like all of us. But yeah, it's kind of get that bug bit 7 years ago. Jumped into a couple AIM events. It was the first real walleye series that I did, and pretty much got wiped the entire series, but it was a good learning experience for us. Jumped in with my good buddy Kurt Yoder, and since then, just been continuing to try to do more and try to challenge myself a little bit more against some really good anglers. There's a lot of really good anglers in this area that you can compete against.
For sure.
That area has got a ton of really good anglers. Just a ton of NWT guys, MWC guys, the amount of guides over there that are quality fishermen. It's unreal in that area.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I think Gary Parsons even said in a couple of podcasts, like, this area itself just produces a lot of really quality, good fishermen. And I think just from like the nature of who are, I don't want to say predecessors, but some of the legacy walleye fishermen are from this area. I think that bug is just bit in this area. So you get a ton of anglers that come out of Wisconsin.
And I feel like you can be a whole lot more diverse here than in a lot of other places. You have the Bay, Green Bay, that fishes like a Great Lake. It is a Great Lake, obviously. You've got big water, big structure. And in the lower part of the bay, fish is very different than the northern portion of the bay. And then you slide down into Winnebago with different changing currents.
Mm-hmm.
Two different rivers basically making one whole system. And that place changes daily as well. So guys who cut their teeth on Bago and Green Bay, and who are really well versed in both places, become that much more dangerous all over the country.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
So Mitchell,
Mitch, what are you looking forward to this year? What series are you guys running this year? Are you hopping in on some of the MWCs, or what's kind of the plan?
I hope so. I don't think I'm. So I kind of cut my teeth on NWT 2 years ago. I did a couple last year and would have loved to do the full tour this year, but just with a small family and how much traveling there is this year, I wasn't able to do that. So this year I'm doing head to head again. I'm going to do Duck Creek Walleye Series with Brandon. Actually, that's a local series on Green Bay. And then Winnebago Walleye Series with a good friend, Kurt Yoder. So I'm staying pretty local outside of the MWC. We're going to do the MWC out of Escanaba up in Big Bay. So that'll be a fun one in Bay to Knock.
Yeah, that'll be a great tournament. I'm also doing that one. I'm pretty excited for Duck Creek, honestly. That'll be a fun little series, you and I obviously we're gonna strive to be team of the year. That's our goal. You know, it's a lofty goal because there's a lot of really good fishermen around the area, as we said. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped for this year fishing with you, buddy. So talk to me about head to head. You know, you and I fished head to head last year. You know, it's a fun dynamic. It's an interesting one, and there's a certain mindset you have to have when going into those tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, head to head's unique. I mean, I'll say I love the guys that started head to head and just how it's grown throughout the past couple of years and what they're trying to do. It's such a tight knit group of guys because there's literally 10 boats that you're competing against. So there's 20 guys, and you see those guys 9 weeks out of the year, and it's not like you're seeing 100 guys that you need to build a relationship with. So there's some good banter that goes on with all those guys, and how it's formatted is you literally just have to beat the team that you're going up against that week. So it's unique in the sense that you can go catch 41 pounders or you go get on big fish. So every event is a little bit different, and your strategy came into play much different than what I was used to tournament fishing, because my thought process was always catch the biggest 5 fish that you can. Right? And catching the biggest weight in head-to-head is much different than catching the biggest 5 fish that you can. That does come into play at times, but I think we got the short end of the stick a few times, Brandon, because there were guys that were just on a ton of 1 and 2 pounders.
Numbers, yeah. Absolutely. And there were matches that we lost by ounces.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you, I'm willing to bet that out of the 7 matches you and I fished together last year, at least 5 or 6 of those matches we had bigger fish, just not more fish.
Yeah, I pulled the stats for it too, just because I was curious, and I kind of regret doing that. But we were, I think, 3rd place in most fish caught, or the number of fish caught. I was like 3rd through 5th place with total weight, with average weight of fish, with big fish. I mean, we were right there when you just look at numbers and stats. But at the end of the day, like whoever we went up against that week, like we just got the short end of the stick of a few of those. There were a couple events where we just frankly lost. Like that 3rd event, we went all the way to the east shore from the west shore, and like we lost those. But there were some events that were a little tough because we had some good high hopes going into it. And man, the team that we went up against either put up the biggest weight or second biggest weight of the day. There's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah, and that's the whole head-to-head dynamic, right? You're fishing against one team, and you know if that team catches them, you end up losing against them.
Exactly.
Is the head-to-head still no live bait?
No, it's live bait. It is live bait.
Oh,
again.
is it?
I don't remember when they brought back live bait. The intent was to pull live bait out so that they could increase sales in the walleye industry with artificials, with hard baits and whatnot. And I think they had too many events that were 4 or 5 hours long with not enough fish being caught. So there are definitely times where just a nice big juicy crawler or minnow works well. And just for, it's all streamed live. So just for entertainment purposes, we want to catch as many fish as possible for the viewers.
Yeah, I think that's what bass does right, honestly, and why there's so much. Well, there's a few reasons, obviously. You can catch bass in every state, but I think part of it too is, you know, if you're not using live bait, these bigger companies, they're going to pump more money into it. So I don't think they were wrong attempting that right away.
Yeah, and I think it might end up getting back to that. I think we just have to bring the viewership back up to what it was when it was no live bait. They started at the right time. They started right in 2020 when COVID hit and everybody's at home, right? Or people were working from home, people were furloughed. So there were a lot of anglers out there fishing, and there were a lot of people that had the ability to just go watch the events. And there's a core group of followers that you see each week throughout the summer that comment on stuff, and it's really cool to watch. And seeing some of the demographics end up increasing year over year is pretty cool to see for head to head. But I don't think it's to the point yet where they're comfortable taking on that risk again, because you can almost go a full day without a bite at times, even with live bait, as you guys know. So trying to make it as entertaining possible for the viewers that are watching live too.
And where can people, when that season does kick off, where can people watch that live? Is that just on Facebook, or?
They switched the platform to Fix TV. So Fix TV is a live streaming app. It is free. You just have to sign up for an account. I think they had a couple troubles with Facebook and YouTube with copyright issues and whatnot. So they switched everything over to Fix TV, and you can retroactively go back and watch a couple of the events too there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you could
Go back
actually
and watch
go
you
back
guys
and
fish.
watch the whole season last year.
Yeah,
That's
we'll let
really
you know which
cool.
ones to watch.
I keep seeing highlights of you guys on their page. There was one, I was telling Brandon the other day, I just saw one of you guys pulling in a 6-7 pounder for sure. That was a nice fish.
Yeah, we were probably trolling crawler harnesses. I think that was event 7 or 8. I don't remember when that was.
Yeah, I think that was event 8, and it was by far the most fun event of the year, for sure.
For sure. For sure. I remember we had double the average weight of who we fished against, and they were on numbers, but man, they just couldn't keep up because we had numbers and the average fish. I think we had a 4.5 pound average that day, which was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
I remember a few years back, I think it must have been right in the midst of COVID. They were on Mille Lacs, and I can't remember who it was. I know it was Joe Okada, and I want to say possibly Max going at it. And each of them were just catching 1 and 2 pounders. And man, they had like 110 pounds or something insane. Yeah. It was just so fun to watch. I saw that and I was like, oh man, I'm in.
Right.
I'm watching this.
Well, and you break that down too. I mean, the 100-pound mark is tough to get because you have 4 hours to fish. I think the events a couple of years ago were 5 hours, and they shortened it to 4 hours to fish. And to get 100 pounds in 4 hours on 1 pound fish, on 5 pound fish, it's tough to do.
Oh yeah.
Our best day last year was that day we were pulling spinners. We had 48 pounds
48.
for 10 fish. And I mean, and the fish we were catching were super, super beautiful quality. We had a couple 7s, a 6, some 4s and 5s. Yeah, it takes a lot to crack that 100-pound mark.
Yeah. And we were trolling at the time too. So there's a little bit of downtime getting reset back up. So if you look at 4-hour time frame, you take out how many times we actually reset it and just took that out of fishing time. It felt like we were active the entire time. I can't imagine what 100 pounds would be when you're trolling crawler harnesses too, because you got to be pulling in lines almost every minute.
Instant, every minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're taking 110 casts and you're catching 100 fish,
Right.
How insane is that?
Yeah. It's insane. Guys did it last year. A couple guys did it last year.
On the bay?
Yeah.
On the bay. Yeah, that one was out of Oconto.
Wow. That's impressive because the bay isn't known for numbers, is it?
It can be.
That time of year. Yeah. That time
Gotcha.
of year. So they were dumping out of the Oconto River. We had a day that the day before when we pre-fished, we probably were on pace to get 100 pounds. And I think those fish just shifted south of that. And I think we still caught 30 pounds, and there were still fish around, but they were just stacked on a point. And I think, I mean, at that point, you probably could have thrown anything in there and they were biting. But Cody and Ted, that's who it was that ended up getting that. And I think, honestly, they're just in the right spot, right time, and they were just stacked in there.
Yeah. Need a little bit of luck every now and then.
Oh, for sure. There's skill. There is skill to that, but there's,
For sure.
ended up lining it up with the luck to have it happen in the 4 hours that you're actually fishing. That's still luck portion too. So.
Absolutely.
So Mitchell, again, in trouble.
You're gonna throw me off.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So, we've mentioned or we've talked about you fishing the NWT. You fished a couple. Your first one as a pro, you took 4th on Lake Winnebago, and you and I have talked about it at length because I need to be better on that body of water. But take us through that tournament, because I know we didn't have a crazy good pre-fish. I had a decent pre-fish. You did not. But you made some game day adjustments on that body of water. Take us through your pre-fish, the tournament, and the things that you kind of learned about that body of water that helped you have some success that day.
Yeah,
Or
that's good.
that weekend.
It's awesome to reflect on that, because I mean, super fortunate to jump in as a pro and take a fourth place. Like, even to come in after day one sitting in fifth place, it's like what you dream of when you jump in as a pro for your first event. And I had all the butterflies jumping in, because you're fishing against guys that you grew up watching and whatnot. So there was a lot of luck involved in that too. But my pre-fish was all over Lake Winnebago and the upper lakes, and like whatever could have gone wrong went wrong for me. I think I got a little too shallow. I broke a fin off of my prop for the trolling motor, so I had to get that fixed. I had a gas line issue, so I had to take my boat up to Ken Sports on the day before the event. And I caught some fish in pre-fish, but for me, it was a lot of eliminating water and finding the right patterns. And when I found the right pattern of a shallow bite on reefs on the west side, that trout perch were coming up and spawning, which they don't spawn on every reef at any given time. So finding those ones that the trout perch were coming up on, there are waves of fish that come up on that and just hammer the heck out of the trout perch. What was cool about that event is when you started to hit the right reefs, you could tell those that were putting in the feed bag, because you catch a 19-incher that was a half pound more there than a 19-incher anywhere else in the system. So, I mean, I kind of stumbled on the area and I saw some trout perch that were floating. I'm like, well, I don't have much to go on, so I'm coming here. And I think knowledge really helped. I mean, I had local knowledge just from fishing a community spot and finding a spot on the spot. I had a couple spots on the spots. So going into the first day of the event, I knew where I wanted to start. And then I looked at the wind and I was like, I need to get to one spot on the spot, because it was a northeast wind that was just ripping. And I knew with that wind, there was just one seam that just hit the rocks just right and created, like, it was like against a shelf and create a current seam that those fish it's a highway for them through that. So I knew that's where we were going the first day, headed out there, and one of the pros was on it, pretty much right on where I needed to be. Luckily, he didn't have a lot of patience. I kind of know who it is, and he doesn't have a lot of patience with jigging. So I think he got out of there after a half hour. So I was on the bow of the boat casting towards that, didn't have a good angle at it. A lot of everything on Lake Winnebago is casting angles in certain currents, certain winds, and having understanding of how those fish set up. Because you can cast the same reef 100 casts one way and switch your angle one way and you'll start whacking fish. It's just amazing how that can happen. So he ended up leaving after about a half hour, and I slid up and kicked my trolling motor into spot lock. And as the boat was swinging, I set the hook. It was a 3.5 pounder, which is a very good quality fish for first fish on Lake Winnebago. So my co-angler netted it. He actually pulled the handle of the net out, so we just had the hoop. I'm like, I'm sorry, man, you got to go get it. So he was on his hands and knees, went and scooped it. The guy was awesome. He traveled. I forgot what his name was, but he travels with Bill Shimoda. So we ended up catching that one and got all jacked up. And I think we had all of our fish by 9:30. So anywhere between 7:30 and 9:30, we had our weigh fish. We had 14 pounds, 5 ounces, I think, first day. And that was the goofy event where you could only catch 3 fish. So luckily my co-angler caught 3 of the fish. I caught 2 of the fish, and I was the last one that could catch kicker fish. So my co-angler had to sit and watch me in the river for, like 6 hours pulling flies. So I'm sure it was pretty boring. Probably not as boring knowing that he had 14 pounds in the live well and eating sandwiches, listening to music. But that was a pretty good day one. And then you come out on day one and you're like, man, Lake Winnebago is so volatile. You don't know what's going to happen day 2 in any event, right? So I was pretty concerned going into day 2, and it took a lot longer to find the fish, and I had to move around a lot more. But fortunately, I got some really good bites on day 2 as well to bump me up a spot.
Awesome. Coming into 2020, I touched on a couple events that you're signing up for. What event are you really looking forward to this year?
There's 2 events because they're both in Big Bay, the MWC in Big Bay, and then the championship for head-to-head is up in Big Bay. So I think it's going to work out really well to fish the MWC up there kind of learn a little bit more in the system. I've been up there a few times, but not as much as I'd like to. So it's going to be a learning curve for me for the NWC, and hopefully learn something for head-to-head championship.
Yeah, that Master Walleye Circuit one is one that I've circled too. I just feel like, yeah, those fish, they're big, heavy fish. They're old, they're prehistoric, gold looking, prettiest walleyes you'll ever see. And they'll be transitioning from that kind of shallower weed to, to their kind of late summer hunts at that point in time. And I really think that, God, there's going to be some big weights. And I know you can call, and I know there's a slot limit, but I still think you're going to need 25 to 26 pounds a day to have a chance to take a win there.
Yeah, I was thinking 50 pounds as kind of the mark, because I think some people get 23 one day, come back with a 26, 27, 7-banner day.
Yep.
But it's really cool when you get out into that deep water out there too, because you talk about Green Bay being clear, and you get up to Door County, it's clear. You get up to Cedar River, it's clear, but you get up there, it's just a different type of clear, and it's a different color of fish. And it's like you said, Brandon, they're like prehistoric dinosaurs up there.
Yeah, we've filmed with Dan Harper, our buddy, and we were talking about those big bay fish, same thing. And we kind of attribute it to it's like fishing in Jurassic Park. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Mitchell, you have grown as an angler. We've talked about it the last 8 years.
I wish you had a more
of
full name
fishing.
there, Brandon. I don't know what to call you when you call me Mitchell.
This is what you got, brother.
I get it. I'm good with it.
So you've grown as an angler, as you said. You really got your teeth kicked in a little bit fishing AIM years ago, and you've built a pretty successful last handful of years. You've had some really nice finishes. What are 3 traits that have really attributed to some success?
Yeah. I don't know if I can give you 3, but I can kind of spitball. And I think one of it's just, number one, being curious. Curiosity is probably the biggest key for my success. And I call it success. I don't know that it's been that much success, but a lot of times when I have really good days, just looking back at why those fish were biting, why they were set up where they were, what they were biting on, it makes more sense for me then when you start retroactively looking back. So being curious about that, and I think some people keep logs. I kind of just take mental notes, but it gets you better as you start understanding why fish are where they are, how they're setting up, and what they're feeding on. So that was helpful for me. And another part of that, just continuing to be adaptable. I mean, I'm not afraid to leave fish. I know people say don't leave fish to find other fish. In pre-fish, I want to cover as much water as possible. I'm okay catching one fish and moving on. I know there's a lot of guys that go out there and don't even cast a rod. I like catching fish, so I'm going to cast yet. Don't get me wrong, but just covering as much water as possible, as efficiently as possible, being adaptable. I think that's 2 of them. Detail oriented. I would say that's a 3rd one. Kind of on the lines of being curious and detail oriented. One thing I did learn, I learned a lot about my electronics the past few years, because as I started catching fish, and they were the right fish and the right quality of fish, I'd start driving around with my electronics and get an understanding of what I was seeing. So every other time that I got out on the water, on those days that they're snapping, it's easy, it's fun, you want to keep catching fish, but you want to learn as much as possible for the days that they're not biting as well, so that you're in target-rich environments as much as possible.
Yeah, well said. I got here, what's one thing that you think you could do to get better as an angler?
One thing, man, I think there's a lot more than one. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, more time on the water would be nice, be extremely helpful. The time is limited, but I think for myself, probably traveling more and challenging myself on other bodies of water. Winnebago and Green Bay, I have a really good understanding. I don't think you always have a good understanding of Green Bay. It's multiple systems in one, but I have a good feel. I love when I travel because it's new water. So just getting out there and being able to get to different lakes and get to some of the tournament lakes when you go watch some of the PWTs and RCLs and early NWTs. I'd love to get out to more of those lakes and get a better understanding of how fish adapt or how fish set up in different lakes and how to go catch them, different techniques as well.
That's one thing I wish the NWT would start doing again, is hitting some of these inland lakes that aren't a river, aren't a Great Lake. some of these bodies of water are fantastic, but they won't hit them, whether it's in Minnesota because of one line or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Between that and money, I think money is part of it as well.
That's a big motivator in the tournament world, I think, for sure. There's places that, Dan Harper and I and Mitch and you and I have talked about, like, gosh, that's a destination you almost got to just go try, just because it's, Fort Peck's one of those for me.
Mm-hmm.
Where you look at it, it's a huge body of water, hundreds of miles, giant walleyes, just a new place, similar to Sakakawea and Oahe probably, but obviously its own body of water. I've never fished the eastern part of Lake Erie. I've never fished Ontario. There's a lot of places that they could go that I think would be super intriguing, and it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. And it's easy for me if I have a reason to go. If I sign up for a tournament and start traveling, I've got that dedicated time. That's part of the reason why I fish tournaments. I know for sure I'm going to get out on the water because life gets busy, obviously. So I want to make sure that I get that time set aside. And if we had more options that were back to what they were or different from what they have been for the past few years, it seems like the past 3-4 years, it's been pretty similar in the bodies of water that the NWT's gone to. There's a couple here and there that are different, but there hasn't been much that has shaken anything up.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was 2020, they were on Ottertail here in Minnesota, and I think, no? Was it 2021? Yeah. I wish they would do more stuff like that, because in Minnesota, Ottertail is not known as, one of those destination bodies of water. And when those guys came in, they really showcased how, there are some big walleyes in that system. And I think that really boosted the economy up there. Got a bunch of people up there hitting the water. So I wish they would do some stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be helpful. And I know there's probably a mixed feeling about getting additional locals in and getting the opportunities for those anglers that don't necessarily want to travel and want to dip their feet in. I think there's certain pros that would rather keep it a core group of pros, but in order to grow the industry, in order to grow walleye fishing, you want more people to compete, and you want more people to want to compete to the highest level. That's how you're going to grow the sport, and that's how you get additional series out there and additional interest out there. So if you make those systems or get the tours to be more diverse, you're going to get more people that get a taste of that tournament fishing. And not even the people that jump in, it's the kids that get to go to the weigh-ins and get to see the stage. I remember as a kid around here, there's Merck Nationals and Otter Street, and I remember going to Merck Nationals with my dad and seeing Keith Cavias walk on stage, and actually saw Ted back. I think that was early 2000, back in the 90s. It was still just a pro event, and that was just I loved the view of that. I loved everything about that. I loved the community at the time, and I was just a young kid, and they had a bunch of games for us to play and see big fish being held up. And I think that sparks something in it sparks curiosity in a kid, just to get out there, grab a fishing pole, go fishing.
Oh,
100%.
Absolutely. Let's not pretend, the reason I'm here is, my dad fished the PWT FLW. I spent a lot of summers watching him walk across that stage, and it's even walking across that stage, it's a bit addicting, to be honest. It's a cool feeling, especially if it's something you've dreamt about and something you wanted to do for a long time. It's something that'll always be special to me. Every time you get to walk across that stage is special.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Mitch, what's your biggest motivation in fishing these tournaments?
Biggest motivation? Go out and compete, challenge myself, and put myself in situations where I can get a wing. And I think that's probably my biggest motivation. And the process of learning to get there I'll back up. That's probably bigger. The process of getting there and process of learning to get to the point where you can compete. I'd say that's my biggest motivation.
Yeah, winning's always really special, but the road to winning sometimes is almost more, when you reflect on it, is almost more special than the win itself sometimes.
Yeah. I'd say too, you're going to be on the road to winning, and it's a bumpy ass road. you're going to be on that more often than you are winning. And I think if you talk to anybody, that's the case. There's some key people out there that get to go fish 200 days out of the year. And like, I have a full-time job, and 99.9% of walleye anglers have a full-time job. So just being able to go out there and compete against them and giving yourself an opportunity when you get those opportunities, I think that's fulfilling. So
yeah, this is the losingest sport in the world. You will lose an infinite amount more than you will win in this sport.
Yeah.
So I think you need to, it's realistic that you need to have small wins in order to make those big wins happen. I think, hey, I learned how to throw a death jig today, or hey, I understood the current today. Those small wins, making those bigger wins available.
It's basically like going to the casino.
It really is.
I think I've been more successful in the casino, honestly. I probably won more money at the casino. Yeah.
So Mitch, I gotta ask. I try to ask everybody this because everybody's got a different answer to this. What is your favorite body of water, not only to break down, but also to fish in a tournament? Because that could be two completely separate things there.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked me that, and I'll probably give a secret out to the listeners that you guys sent me that text and had that on there, and I kept thinking about it because I had two different answers, so it's worked out well. Lac Seul flowage up in Hudson, Ontario. Like, I started going up there with a good friend's family right out of high school. Went up there a few times, and just the amount of fish up there and the diverse structure up there, and not seeing a building and not seeing a person for multiple days. You're just out there fishing and catch a ton of high quality smallmouth bass. You catch perch, you catch walleye, you catch muskie, you catch northern. Just the amount of fish per angler up there is just amazing. And I say that because it's awesome to break down, and it's just more fun to be there with a good group of guys that wants to go have fun, catch a bunch of fish. And we stayed in a houseboat the times that we were out there. So that's probably my favorite experience and favorite body of water in general. But tournament fishing itself, my favorite tournament body of water would be Lake Winnebago. And I know that's probably pretty unpopular, but I just like how different it can be. And it's frustrating. It is more frustrating than it is rewarding, but I love how different it can be each and every day, and just being able to stay mobile and find the fish and adapt. And those times that you do adapt and you catch the right fish, it's so rewarding because it is so difficult on that body of water.
Yeah, it's bit me pretty bad more times than it's been nice to me. That's for sure.
It's got that reputation.
It really does. Yeah. Lac Seul. I was not expecting that. I wasn't ready for that.
And I had to reflect on that a little bit today too. And I just started remembering the trips that we took out there in a 16-foot aluminum boat with a Honda tiller on the back. Honda's really big up there. You'd tow those behind the houseboat, so you'd have like 4 of them in a line behind the houseboat. Just the entire experience, and then catching. I mean, you'd catch 100 fish a day easily up there, and you can catch them shallow, deep. You can catch them pretty much anywhere at any time of the year. There's just so many fish up there.
Is that one of those lakes where? Because I grew up going to Lake Vermilion in northern Minnesota, and I don't know if you're familiar, but that lake is known for just massive, massive boulders everywhere, the size of houses and buses and stuff. So it's just kind of a fun lake to find those boulders that are just holding some really nice fish, and the boulder next to it might be have 2-pound walleye sitting on it. The next one's got pounders. Like, is that kind of one of those lakes where it's just a lot of boulders and a lot of structure?
There's a lot of structure. It's a flowage, so you have a lot of islands. You have a ton of points. You've got a lot of weeds, so there's a lot of shallow weeds. There is some areas where it's very rocky, not big boulders, but nice sized rock. A lot of times you're fishing, like you can fish a basin or fish breaks against islands. You can fish the weeds. You can fish that structure, and probably the funnest bite out there. There's a couple of old railroad beds or old railroad tracks, and there's logs that stick up from that, and like you get in that lumber, it's like 4 feet deep. You're just snap jigging small grubs or plastics, and they're fired up and snapping in there. So they come in there and feed. It's about 15, 16 feet deep on both sides, and they just come up to like a 4-foot shelf with a bunch of lumber in it. So
Oh, that sounds like a fun trip.
Yeah.
it's fun. And the water up
Nothing-
there, it's like a darker stained water. It's almost like a root beer colored water.
Like a tannic.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep. There's nothing better than catching walleyes in 4 feet of water, man. There's some. It's like they hit that extra gear and they just fight.
Yeah, for sure. And then you get like a 40-inch northern that chases it and clamps onto the walleye mid-body
Yeah.
and still comes in because it doesn't want to let go. I mean, those are the types of experiences you see up there that you just, I'm sure you see elsewhere too, but it's just not as common.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Mitchell. I think we're getting close to the end here. Give me one thing that somebody, and it could be anybody. It can be somebody who's fishing from the bank who's just starting out, somebody a weekend angler or a tournament angler, an established tournament angler. What's one thing that we can be, we can learn to be better anglers?
Well, I gave you a couple tips with being curious and detail oriented. I would say resilience would be another one. You're going to, I think we already talked about anglers that are going to have worse days than better days most of the time in tournaments. But even bank fishing, I think there's plenty of guys that go out bank fishing and just expect that they're going to catch fish because they saw a post on Facebook the week before, and it's just not how it works. So just being curious, finding your own bite, and then being resilient and just continuing to go to continue to learn. Try different spots, go often enough, and you're going to have one of those banner days that you see on Facebook from someone that you follow that gets out every day. Because for the one banner day that they probably have 15 days that they didn't bite like that.
I wish more people knew that, because it seems like a lot of people see, a stack of walleyes, or they see a guy holding up a 28, 29-inch walleye, or even a 30, and they just think, man, that guy must be so good at this. But they don't see the time spent on the water, and they might go out for a day, catch a little dink, or might get skunked, and it completely just turns them off of going fishing again. I wish more people would see that or show that in their videos,
Yeah, I think showing that is probably the biggest key, because like in the world of YouTube, in the world of Facebook, in the world of Instagram, people are only posting the good stuff. I mean, there's a couple shows out there that will post the full day, more so on the bass side than walleye. But just understanding better that like they're out there more often than you think, and they don't always have banner days. It's not going to be that way every single time you go. So just continuing to learn and taking those small wins, Brandon. I think you talked about small wins. Take those small wins every time you go out, and you start stacking those small wins. You're going to have a day that's just as good, if not better, than what you're dreaming of from a Facebook post or from a YouTube video.
I feel like a better angler already, Mitch. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was my goal.
Well, it was good to see you, Mitch. I think we've hit that 40-minute mark.
Thanks for being with us, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate
Always.
talking anytime.
Anytime.
Talk to you guys about fishing anytime.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right.
See
Have a
ya.
good one. See ya.